This segment is brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs.
Hey everybody, welcome back into By Time. Harry McCullough here. It's time to check in with the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office and an incident that happened on Martin Luther King Boulevard last night. He's First Lieutenant Blake Tabor of the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office. So thanks so much for being with us, Blake. Boy, you know, we read about things like this all the time in a crowded area like Martin Luther King Boulevard, and somebody takes a gun out and starts shooting, and really scary. And when it happens in a town like Houma, this is really, really scary, right?
Absolutely. Look, you could argue that this situation could have easily been coined an active shooter type situation with the amount of people that we know populate the area of Martin Luther King Boulevard. But, gratefully so, no one was hurt other than one particular victim in this case. But this came to fruition last night around 8 p.m., shortly thereafter, where we began receiving phone calls of a shooting that had taken place in the parking lot of a business there. Of course, anytime we get those types of calls, the response. It's very calculated, it's very tactical, and it's very expedited. So that's exactly what happened in this particular situation. Once deputies arrived there, they were able to contact some witnesses in the parking lot who quickly described a suspect in the case, which was identified as a white male driving a dark-colored Cadillac-style sedan, who allegedly was firing numerous rounds at a white SUV that was traveling through the parking lot. So again, once that information was gained, it was disseminated to all the responding units. Luckily for us, there was a unit that was at the intersection of Martin Luther King Boulevard and West Side Boulevard, where they intercepted a vehicle and observed that vehicle traveling at a very high rate of speed on Martin Luther King. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that we quickly got behind that vehicle and began to pursue. Once the lights and sirens came on, of course, that vehicle refused to stop as it traveled down Savannah Road towards Highway 311. We continued to pursue with the assistance of Louisiana State Police, who we are very grateful were on the scene to assist. Ultimately, in the 3500 block of Highway 311, due to some traffic, which kind of inhibited the driver's ability to escape, ultimately pulled over and surrendered to authorities, where he was quickly taken into custody without further incident. Ultimately, a preliminary search of the vehicle did reveal a weapon loaded with one in the chamber inside of that vehicle, which was certainly secured as evidence. Again, we fast forward to detectives arriving on scene, where they were able to identify the occupants of that white SUV, which they were able to determine that the driver, who, again, we're not identifying at this time, but the driver was a female who was determined to be the estranged wife of the male suspect, who ultimately was identified as a Kyle Kenneth Stein III. You see him photographed here. He was the lone occupant of the vehicle on Highway 311 when officers came into contact with him. In addition to the estranged wife, there was a secondary victim inside that vehicle, which did suffer a gunshot wound and received treatment at a local hospital for a non-life-threatening injury. So we are very grateful that that was the case. Ultimately, investigators talked to both of them, where they were able to determine, sort of that relationship between the male and the female, as well as the link to Kyle Stein III. Ultimately, investigators did speak with Kyle Stein, who again confirmed that it was his estranged wife that he saw in a parking lot with a unknown male suspect in the car with her. And then ultimately, as she left the parking lot against his desire, he began to fire. The important part to point out was when the shots were fired, there were numerous people in this parking lot. There were 3 additional vehicles that were struck during the course of this action by Mr. Stein. And, it certainly appears for all intents and purposes that he was firing at will with complete disregard for human safety.
Right. Well, you can, in your mind, car pulls out and he's just firing away.
Absolutely.
But anybody could have got hit.
Absolutely.
People on traffic there, people in the stores, anything like that. So
absolutely. And anytime we hear gunshots, I think it's commonplace that people could have returned fire had they had a weapon, which thankfully did not happen. But there were people that were loading groceries into their vehicles who were in the path of bullets, and by the grace of God, and we say that, and I mean that wholeheartedly, were not struck by rounds. So we are grateful that no one else was injured. We are grateful that the injuries sustained were not life-threatening. But ultimately, Mr. Stein was arrested for 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder, aggravated flight from an officer, and 3 counts of aggravated criminal damage to property.
So he didn't resist once he was stopped, though.
No,
once he got serious for him too,
absolutely.
right?
So there was no engaging of a weapon or anything with officers, which could have obviously turned very deadly. But again, he is currently incarcerated on a $2 million bond set by local judges.
So, yeah, that's probably not good there at all. And look, it could have been a lot worse.
It could have ended.
Although we do have a victim that's shot in the leg.
Yep, it certainly could have ended much more tragically. But I think considering all of the circumstances and the totality of everything that happened, to end this investigation with one person being struck with a non-life-threatening injury, I think we need to chalk that up as a victory.
Yeah, no doubt about that, particularly where it happened. All right, just change subject for the last 30 seconds. Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office launches a senior outreach program.
Absolutely. So look, this is a new initiative that we're going to launch, where we're going to go into nursing homes and make contact at senior citizen centers, where we're going to be educating them on a lot of ways to protect themselves from scams, as well as just giving them a voice to communicate with law enforcement. And we know that the elderly are relentlessly attacked when it comes to scams for obvious reasons. But we're going to be out there doing our due diligence and trying to educate them on the things to not do.
What a great program, because that's a serious problem.
Absolutely.
Blake David, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll be right back on More Bayou Time right after this.
This segment was brought to you by Alford and Associates for all of your insurance needs.